Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the message that had just arrived. The blue hologram flickered in front of him, showing an alien face with large dark eyes and silver skin. The creature spoke in perfect English, but its voice sounded cold and distant. "I am Ambassador Zixthera of the Velnari Empire," the alien said. "By order of the Galactic Council, humanity must stop all construction in your outer solar system immediately. You are breaking galactic law." Jake rubbed his forehead. This was exactly what Earth Command had been worried about. For months they had been watching alien ships at the edge of their solar system. The aliens had been quiet until now. "Sir, should I send a reply?" asked Lieutenant Amy Peterson from her station. "Not yet," Jake said. He needed to talk to Earth Command first. The message continued. "We know about your illegal construction near Jupiter. Primitive species like humans are not allowed to build large structures in space. This is final warning. Stop now or face consequences." The hologram disappeared, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake's crew looked worried. They all knew about the secret project near Jupiter, but none of them knew exactly what it was. Even Jake only knew parts of it. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake ordered. Within minutes, Dr. Lisa Hamilton appeared on the main screen. She was Earth's top expert on alien civilizations and had been studying the galactic community for years. Her face looked tired and stressed. "Jake, I saw the message," she said before he could speak. "This is worse than we thought." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Lisa pulled up some data on her computer. "I've been studying their laws for months. The galaxy works like a ladder. Every species gets a number based on how advanced they think you are. Humans are rated as level 7. "What does that mean?" "It means they think we're barely smarter than cave people," Lisa said with anger in her voice. Level 7 species are only allowed to have basic defenses around their home planet. Nothing bigger than a small space station. Jake felt his heart sink. The project near Jupiter was much bigger than a small space station. "Much bigger? How many levels are there?" he asked. 10 levels. Level 1 species can build anything they want. They rule the galaxy. Level 10 species aren't even allowed to have space travel. The communication screen split and Commander Ryan Brooks appeared. He was the man in charge of the secret project. His face looked grim. "We have 3 weeks, Ryan said. They're sending an inspection team to look at what we built. If they don't like what they see, they'll destroy it and probably attack Earth too." Jake had met Ryan only twice before. The man was in charge of something called Project Lighthouse, but it was so secret that even most of Earth's leaders didn't know the details. "Can we hide it?" Jake asked. Ryan smiled for the first time. "We've been hiding it for 10 years already. The question is whether we should keep hiding it." Dr. Hamilton looked confused. "What do you mean?" "They already know something is there. They know we're building something," Ryan said. "They don't know what. And they definitely don't know how big it really is." Before anyone could ask more questions, another person joined the call. Secretary of Defense Maria Santos looked angry and worried at the same time. "I just got off a call with the president," she said. "The alien delegation will arrive in 3 weeks. They're bringing ships from 12 different alien civilizations. This isn't just the Velnari Empire anymore. This is the whole Galactic Council." Jake felt the weight of the situation. 12 alien civilizations coming to judge humanity. If they decided humans had broken galactic law, Earth might face a war it couldn't win. "What species are coming?" Lisa asked. Maria read from a list. "The Saurian Empire, the Nexari Collective, the Luminar Consortium, and 9 others. They're all level 1 or level 2 civilizations. The most advanced species in the galaxy." "They think they're coming to discipline children," Ryan said quietly. "Aren't they?" Maria asked. "Ryan, I've seen the budget reports for your project. We've spent more money on Project Lighthouse than on our entire space fleet, but no one will tell me what we actually built." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "We built something that will change everything, but I can't explain it over an open channel. Too many people might be listening." Jake understood. Even their secure communications might be monitored by alien technology. "What do we tell the delegation when they arrive?" Jake asked. "The truth," Ryan said, "or at least part of it." Dr. Hamilton shook her head. "If we show them advanced technology, they might declare us a threat instead of just rule breakers. That could be even worse." "Lisa's right," Maria said. "These aliens have been in control of the galaxy for thousands of years. They won't like learning that humans might be more advanced than they thought." Ryan's expression became serious. "They're going to learn anyway. The question is whether they learn it from us or whether they learn it when the real threat arrives. What real threat? Jake asked. That's classified, Maria said quickly. Ryan, we agreed not to discuss that until the president makes a decision. But Ryan ignored her. Captain Morrison, how much do you know about the ruins in Antarctica? Jake was surprised by the question. Just what everyone knows. We found some old alien structures buried in the ice. Scientists have been studying them for 20 years. Those ruins are why we built Project Lighthouse, Ryan said. And they're why the Galactic Council is making a huge mistake. Maria looked angry. Ryan stopped talking. No, Ryan said firmly. Jake needs to know. He's going to be escorting the alien ships to the project site. He needs to understand what's really happening. The screen went quiet. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Finally, Ryan continued. The ruins in Antarctica belonged to a civilization that was destroyed 50,000 years ago. They left behind technology and warnings. The Galactic Council thinks they're the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. But they're wrong. There's something much worse out there, and it's coming back. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Coming back? The civilization that built those ruins called them the Devourers. They destroy entire galaxies by eating reality itself. The ruins contain instructions on how to fight them. Dr. Hamilton's face went pale. That's why you built Project Lighthouse. You're preparing for war. We're preparing to save the galaxy, Ryan said, even if the galaxy doesn't want to be saved. The communication ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. In 3 weeks, the most powerful alien civilizations would arrive at Earth expecting to find primitive humans who had built something too big for their level. Instead, they would find something that none of them could have imagined. Jake looked out at the stars and wondered if humanity was about to become the galaxy's greatest enemy or its only hope. 3 weeks later, Captain Jake Morrison watched 12 alien ships arrive at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each ship was different, representing the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Some looked like giant crystals floating through space. Others were made of metal so advanced it seemed to bend light around itself. The largest ship belonged to High Arbiter Kulmaven, the leader of the inspection team. Jake had studied the alien's file. Kulmaven was over 300 years old and had judged hundreds of primitive species throughout his career. He was known for being strict and fair, but also for believing that advanced civilizations should stay separate from primitive ones. Captain Morrison, came a voice over the radio. It was Captain Amy Peterson, who was now commanding one of the escort ships. The aliens are requesting permission to proceed to the construction site. Tell them we're ready to escort them, Jake replied. But remind them that they must follow our flight path exactly. There are dangerous energy fields around Jupiter. This was a lie, but it was necessary. The real reason for the specific flight path was to control what the aliens saw and when they saw it. Dr. Lisa Hamilton was aboard Jake's ship as the official Earth representative. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, studying alien customs and laws. She looked nervous as she checked her notes one more time. Jake, are you sure about this plan? She asked. It's not my plan, Jake said. I'm just following orders. Ryan Brooks and his team designed every detail of what happens next. The convoy of ships moved slowly toward Jupiter. The alien vessels stayed in perfect formation, showing the discipline that had helped them control the galaxy for thousands of years. Jake had to admit he was impressed by their technology. Their ships moved without any visible engines, and their communications were so advanced that there was no delay despite the vast distances. As they approached Jupiter's orbit, one of the alien ships sent a message. The voice belonged to Commander Slicks of the Saurian Empire. His species looked like giant lizards and were known for being aggressive and proud. Human Captain, we are detecting unusual energy readings in this area. What exactly did your species build here? Jake had been prepared for this question. You'll see everything in a few minutes, Commander Slicks. We prefer to show rather than tell. The truth was that Jake could see nothing unusual on his sensors either. Whatever Project Lighthouse was, it was still completely hidden from detection. He wondered how that was possible, given that the aliens had technology, far beyond anything humans were supposed to possess. Engineer Tony Rodriguez was monitoring the project from Earth. His voice came through on a private channel that only Jake could hear. Captain, we're beginning the reveal sequence now. Tell the aliens to watch carefully. Jake opened a channel to all the ships. Honored delegates, we are now approaching the construction site. Please observe the space directly ahead of our formation. At first, nothing happened. The alien ships continued forward. their sensors probably showing nothing but empty space and the distant glow of Jupiter. Jake could imagine the confusion aboard their vessels. Then the space in front of them began to shimmer. It started as just a slight distortion, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But it quickly grew larger and more obvious. The shimmer spread outward in all directions, covering an area larger than Earth's moon. "What is this?" demanded High Arbiter Coolmaven. "We are detecting massive energy displacement. How are you hiding something this large?" Dr. Kevin Walsh's voice came from Earth on the General Communication Channel. He was the chief physicist for Project Lighthouse, and Jake could hear excitement in his voice despite the serious situation. "Honored delegates, what you are seeing is dimensional phase technology. We have been studying the principles of reality manipulation for several decades." Jake heard gasps and angry sounds from the alien ships. Reality manipulation was supposedly impossible for any species below level 3. Humans were level 7. "This is impossible," said Commander Slicks. "No primitive species could develop such technology. You must have stolen it from an advanced civilization." Dr. Walsh continued calmly. "We did not steal this technology. We found it buried under the ice in Antarctica. It belonged to a civilization that existed before your current galactic order." The shimmer was growing brighter now. Jake could see the outline of something massive beginning to appear. It was still mostly transparent, but he could tell it was much larger than any space station he had ever seen. "You are claiming to have technology from the predecessors?" asked a new voice. This belonged to Nexus Prime, the representative of the crystal-based Nexari Collective. "The predecessors are a myth. Ancient stories with no proof. The proof is about to become visible," Dr. Walsh said. High Arbiter Coolmaven's voice was stern. "Even if you found ancient technology, using it without galactic approval is still illegal. Primitive species are forbidden from possessing advanced technology until they prove they can use it responsibly." Jake almost laughed at the irony. If Ryan Brooks was right about the coming threat, the aliens were about to learn that humans were the only species responsible enough to use this technology properly. The phase shift was accelerating now. The shimmer was becoming solid, and shapes were beginning to emerge from what had seemed like empty space. Jake could see curved structures stretching out in all directions. Whatever Project Lighthouse was, it was enormous. Dr. Lisa Hamilton was staring at her sensor readings with her mouth open. "Jake, this is impossible. The mass readings are off the charts. Whatever they built, it's bigger than some moons." "Bigger than moons," Jake repeated quietly. He was beginning to understand why this project had been kept so secret. This wasn't just a violation of galactic law. This was something that would force the entire galaxy to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humanity. The alien ships had stopped moving forward. Jake could see their weapon systems powering up as they prepared for possible combat. They obviously felt threatened by what they were seeing. "Human vessels, explain immediately what you have constructed," demanded High Arbiter Coolmaven. "Our sensors indicate a structure of unprecedented size. This far exceeds anything permitted for level 7 species." Jake opened his communication channel. "Honored Arbiter, we invite you to board our construction and see for yourself. But we must warn you that what you see may challenge everything you believe about galactic civilization." "Are you threatening us?" asked Commander Slicks aggressively. "No," Jake said. "We're trying to save you." The phase shift was nearly complete now. The structure that emerged from dimensional hiding was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. It stretched across space in a perfect ring around Jupiter's orbit. The ring was so large that Earth could have fit through it dozens of times. But size wasn't the most shocking thing. The most shocking thing was that it looked exactly like the ancient megastructures that Level 1 civilizations built. The same civilizations that were supposedly the most advanced in the galaxy. The alien ships fell silent for several minutes. Jake could imagine the panic aboard their vessels as they tried to understand what they were seeing. A Level 7 species had built something that should have been impossible for anyone below Level 1. Finally, High Arbiter Coolmaven spoke again. His voice was carefully controlled, but Jake could hear the shock underneath. "We will board your structure for inspection, but be warned, humans. If this is some kind of trick or illusion, the consequences will be severe." "No tricks," Jake said. "Just the truth. And the truth is going to be harder to believe than any illusion." As the alien ships moved closer to the massive ring structure, Jake wondered if humanity had just made the greatest discovery in galactic history, or if they had just started a war that would destroy everything. Admiral Claire Thompson stood in the main docking bay of Project Lighthouse as the alien delegation entered. She had been promoted to admiral specifically for this moment, when humanity would reveal its greatest secret to the galaxy. The massive space around her could hold 100 ships, and its walls were covered with technology that gleamed like liquid metal. High Arbiter Coolmaven was the first alien to step out of the transport shuttle. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His large eyes moved constantly as he studied everything around him. Behind him came representatives from 11 other civilizations, each more exotic than the last. Commander Slicks of the Saurian Empire looked like a giant lizard walking on 2 legs. His scales were deep green, and his yellow eyes showed suspicion and anger. The Nexari representative, Nexus Prime, wasn't even solid. It appeared as a floating cluster of crystals that sparkled with inner light. "Welcome to Project Lighthouse," Admiral Thompson said formally. "What you see here is the result of 10 years of human engineering and construction." High Arbiter Coolmaven looked around the docking bay with obvious confusion. "This is impossible. The energy requirements alone would exceed your planet's total output by a factor of thousands. How did a level 7 species accomplish this?" "We learned from the best teachers," Thompson replied. "The species that came before you." She led the group through a series of corridors that stretched for miles in every direction. The aliens walked in silence, their sensors constantly scanning the walls and ceiling. Jake Morrison and Dr. Lisa Hamilton followed behind the group, watching the alien reactions carefully. Dr. Paul Martinez joined them at the first major observation deck. He was the head of Earth's archaeological team, and had spent more time studying the Antarctic ruins than anyone else alive. He was excited to finally share what they had discovered. "Honored delegates," Dr. Martinez began, "what you see around you was built using technology found in ruins buried under Earth's ice. These ruins are 50,000 years old and belong to a civilization that called itself the Predecessors." Nexus Prime's crystals flashed with different colors, which Jake had learned was how the Nexari showed emotion. The Predecessors are legend. Ancient stories told by primitive species who find old technology they cannot understand. "That's what we thought too," Dr. Martinez said, "until we started translating their records." He led them to a massive viewing window that looked out into space. What they saw took their breath away. The ring structure stretched out in both directions until it disappeared into the distance. It was so large that Jupiter looked small in comparison. "This ring has a diameter of 1.6 million kilometers," Dr. Martinez explained. "It provides living space for over 50 billion people. We have been secretly moving Earth's population here for the past 5 years. Commander Slicks made a hissing sound that Jake assumed was laughter. "You expect us to believe that humans built a ring world? Even the most advanced Level 1 civilizations require centuries to complete such projects. We didn't build it from scratch," Dr. Martinez said. "We built it using predecessor manufacturing technology. Their automated systems can create matter at the molecular level. What would take you centuries took us only 10 years. Lieutenant Colonel Susan Davis stepped forward. She was the military representative on the archaeological team and had been studying the predecessor warnings for years. Her face was serious as she prepared to deliver the most important part of their presentation. "The predecessors didn't just leave behind construction technology," she said. "They left behind warnings. They were destroyed by something they called the Devourers." High Arbiter Coolmaven's forearms moved in what Jake recognized as a dismissive gesture. "More legends. Every primitive species has stories about ancient destroyers and apocalyptic threats. These aren't stories," Susan said firmly. "The predecessor records include detailed sensor data, tactical analysis, and defensive strategies. The Devourers are real, and they're coming back." She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as seen from above. Red dots appeared at various points along the outer edge. "Long-range sensors have detected reality distortions at 17 different locations," Susan continued. "These distortions match exactly the descriptions in the predecessor warnings. The barriers between dimensions are breaking down." The alien delegates looked at each other with expressions of confusion and disbelief. Nexus Prime spoke first. "Even if we accepted your claims about these Devourers, why would humans be the First to detect them? Our sensor networks cover the entire galaxy. Dr. Martinez smiled sadly. That's exactly the problem. Your sensor networks look for normal space phenomena. The Devourers don't exist entirely in normal space. They exist partially in other dimensions. The only way to detect them is with predecessor technology. And you're saying only humans have this technology? Asked High Arbiter Coolmaven. We're saying only humans bothered to look for it, Susan replied. The predecessors left ruins on thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy. But every advanced civilization ignored them because they assumed primitive ruins couldn't contain anything useful. Jake could see the impact of these words on the alien delegates. Their technological arrogance had blinded them to the most important discovery in galactic history. Commander Slick stepped forward aggressively. You are claiming that your primitive species is more advanced than civilizations that have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years? We're not more advanced, Admiral Thompson said calmly. We're more desperate. When you've been classified as primitive for your entire existence, you learn to look for advantages wherever you can find them. She led them to another viewing area where they could see the ring's interior surface. Massive. Cities stretched out across the inner curve, connected by transportation systems that moved faster than anything Jake had ever seen. Parks and forests created green patches between the urban areas, and artificial suns provided light and energy. The ring world is more than just a habitat, Thompson explained. It's a fortress designed to defend against extra-dimensional threats. Every system here was built according to predecessor specifications for fighting the Devourers. High Arbiter Coolmaven was quiet for a long time as he studied the vast structure around them. Finally, he spoke. Assuming your claims are true, why did you not contact the Galactic Council immediately? Such a threat would require the combined resources of all civilizations. Dr. Martinez laughed bitterly. We tried. 5 years ago, we sent detailed reports to the Council about our discoveries. Your response was to classify us as a Level 7 species and forbid us from possessing advanced technology. The Council receives thousands of claims from primitive species every year, Coolmaven said defensively. Most are fantasies or misunderstandings. So you ignored us, Susan said. Just like you ignored the predecessor ruins on your own worlds. Just like you're ignoring the sensor readings that are coming in right now from your border territories. She activated another display that showed recent reports from the galactic rim. Star systems were going dark in a pattern that spiraled inward toward the galaxy's center. The disappearances were accelerating. 3 star systems went dark last week, Susan said. 2 more disappeared yesterday. The Devourers aren't coming, they're already here. The alien delegates stood in stunned silence as they realized the implications. Everything they had believed about galactic civilization was wrong. The primitive humans they had come to discipline were actually the only species prepared for the greatest threat in galactic history. Nexus Prime's crystals dimmed to a dull gray. If this is true, then we have made a terrible mistake. The mistake isn't visiting us, Admiral Thompson said. The mistake was waiting until now. But it's not too late. We can still save the galaxy if we work together. High Arbiter Coolmaven looked out at the ring world stretching into the distance. What do you need from us? We need you to stop thinking of us as primitive, Thompson replied. And we need you to start thinking of us as partners. Because the war that destroyed the predecessors is about to begin again, and this time humanity is the only species that knows how to fight it. High Arbiter Coolmaven stood in the command center of Project Lighthouse, watching data streams that showed the destruction spreading across the galaxy's edge. His forearms moved nervously as he tried to process information that challenged everything he had believed for 300 years. This cannot be accurate, he said for the 5th time in an hour. Our civilization has maintained detailed records for 10,000 years. There is no mention of these Devourers in any historical database. Dr. Rachel Stone looked up from the predecessor scanning equipment she was operating. She was Earth's leading expert on the ancient technology, and her patience was wearing thin with the aliens' refusal to accept obvious facts. Your records only go back 10,000 years, she said calmly. The predecessor civilization was destroyed 50,000 years ago. Your entire galactic order was built after they were gone. She turned back to the dimensional scanner, a device that looked like a sphere made of crystallized light. The sphere showed images of space that seemed to twist and bend in impossible ways. "Look at this," Rachel said, pointing to the display. "These are real-time images from the Kepler sector. Watch what happens when a Devourer ship enters normal space." The display showed a peaceful star system with 3 inhabited planets. Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open like fabric. Something emerged from the tear that hurt to look at directly. It wasn't quite solid and wasn't quite energy. It moved in ways that made no sense according to normal physics. The moment the thing touched the first planet, the entire world simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not blown apart, just gone as if it had never been there. Commander Slicks of the Saurian Empire hissed in fear and anger. What kind of weapon can erase a planet from existence? Captain Ben Parker, who commanded Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station, answered from his position at a nearby console. It's not a weapon. The Devourers don't destroy matter. They consume the underlying reality that allows matter to exist. That is impossible, declared Nexus Prime. The crystalline being's light patterns showed confusion and fear. Reality cannot be consumed. It simply is. Dr. Stone shook her head. Reality is more fragile than you think. The predecessor records explain it in detail. Our universe exists in layers. Normal matter exists in the base layer. But there are other layers underneath that support and maintain the base layer. The Devourers eat those support layers. She changed the display to show a cross-section diagram that looked like a stack of transparent sheets. When the support layers are consumed, everything above them collapses into nothingness. The planet didn't get destroyed. The reality that allowed the planet to exist was eaten. General Frank Cooper joined the group from the Military Planning Center. His face was grim as he carried reports from across the galaxy. The pattern is accelerating. We've lost contact with 43 star systems in the past week. Our projections show the consumption wave will reach the inner galaxy in less than 6 months. High Arbiter Coolmaven finally seemed to accept what he was seeing. How do we fight something that can erase reality itself? With weapons that work on the same principles, General Cooper replied. The predecessors developed reality anchor technology. It forces extra-dimensional entities to exist fully in normal space, where they become vulnerable to conventional attacks. He led them to a viewing window that looked out at the ring world's manufacturing sector. Massive automated factories stretched for hundreds of kilometers, producing weapons and ships at an impossible rate. We've been building an anti-devourer fleet for 5 years, Cooper explained. Every ship is equipped with reality anchors and dimensional stabilizers. But we only have enough for a few hundred vessels. Commander Slick studied the factory complex with professional interest. How many ships do you estimate we need to defend the galaxy? Hundreds of thousands, Cooper said bluntly. Maybe millions. The Devourers don't attack one system at a time. They attack entire sectors simultaneously. Our fleet could protect maybe a dozen star systems. The galaxy has over 50 million inhabited systems. The weight of this information settled over the alien delegates like a heavy blanket. They were facing an enemy that could destroy reality itself, and humanity's advanced weapons could only protect a tiny fraction of galactic civilization. What about our fleets? Asked High Arbiter Coolmaven. Surely our combined military forces number in the millions of ships. Dr. Stone brought up another display showing test results from the galactic rim. Your weapons are useless against Devourers. Energy beams, plasma cannons, nuclear missiles. None of them can affect something that exists partially outside normal space. She showed footage of a Saurian Empire battle fleet engaging a Devourer swarm. The alien ships fired everything they had, but their weapons passed through the Devourers without any effect. In response, the Devourers simply erased the entire fleet from existence. Traditional military tactics won't work, General Cooper said. This isn't a conventional war. It's a fight for the fundamental nature of reality itself. Commander Lisa Brooks entered the command center carrying new intelligence reports. She had been appointed as Earth's official representative to the Galactic Council, and her job was to coordinate the defense effort with alien governments. I just received word from the council chambers, she announced. The Saurian Empire is refusing to cooperate with human command structure. They say their military traditions don't allow them to serve under primitive species. Commander Slicks's scales changed color, which Jake had learned indicated embarrassment. The Empire's position is complicated. We have maintained military supremacy for 3,000 years. Our warriors find it difficult to accept human leadership. Your warriors are going to find it more difficult to accept extinction, General Cooper said coldly. Pride is a luxury we can't afford right now. High Arbiter Culmaven raised one of his 4 hands for attention. The problem is not just pride. The entire galactic order is based on technological hierarchy. If we officially recognize humans as superior to level 1 civilizations, it will cause political chaos throughout the galaxy. The chaos is already here, Dr. Stone said, pointing to the scanner display. Look at this. The dimensional scanner showed new tiers in reality opening across multiple sectors. The Devourers were no longer just attacking the galactic rim. They were opening portals deep inside civilized space. They're bypassing our defenses, Captain Parker said with alarm. The Devourers can open dimensional rifts anywhere they want. Distance and barriers mean nothing to them. Senator Kyle Martinez appeared on the main communication screen from the Galactic Council chambers. His face showed the strain of trying to hold the galactic government together, while reality itself was under attack. Admiral Thompson, we need an immediate demonstration of your anti-devourer weapons, he said urgently. Half the council members still think this is an elaborate human deception. They won't commit their fleets until they see proof that your technology actually works. Director Ashley Young stepped forward from the weapons development section. She was in charge of Earth's new Dimensional Defense Division and had personally overseen the testing of every anti-devourer weapon. We can provide a demonstration, she said, but it will have to be a real combat test. The Devourers are opening a major rift in the Centauri sector. If we don't stop them there, they'll have a direct route to Earth and the core worlds. High Arbiter Culmaven looked around at the other alien delegates. They all understood what this meant. The moment of truth had arrived. Either humanity's weapons would prove effective against the Devourers, or galactic civilization would fall to an enemy that could erase entire star systems from existence. Very well, Culmaven said formally. The Galactic Council authorizes a joint human-alien fleet to engage the Devourers in the Centauri sector. But understand that if your weapons fail, we may not have another chance. Director Young smiled grimly. Our weapons won't fail. The predecessors designed them specifically to fight this enemy. The question isn't whether we can hurt the Devourers. The question is whether the galaxy is ready to follow human leadership in a war that will determine the survival of reality itself. As alarms began sounding throughout the ring world, calling crews to battle stations, Jake Morrison realized that humanity was about to either save the galaxy or watch it die. Either way, no one would ever think of humans as a primitive species again. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of humanity's new flagship, watching the largest fleet in galactic history prepare for battle. Ships from 12 different civilizations flew alongside human vessels, their combined firepower enough to level entire star systems. But firepower wouldn't matter in this fight. Only the reality anchor technology could touch their enemy. The Centauri sector stretched out before them, but something was terribly wrong with space itself. Instead of the normal black void dotted with stars, there were patches where reality seemed to be missing. These gaps in existence pulsed with colors that had no names and hurt to look at directly. All ships report ready, announced Captain Amy Peterson from her position at the communications station. She had been promoted to serve as Jake's tactical coordinator for the joint fleet. Commander Lisa Brooks stood at the sensor station, monitoring the dimensional scanners that only human ships possessed. Her face was tense as she watched the readings. Admiral, the rift is much larger than we expected. It's over 50 kilometers wide and growing. Through the main view screen, Jake could see the tear in space that the Devourers had created. It looked like a wound in reality itself, with edges that seemed to bend and twist in directions that shouldn't exist. Strange shapes moved inside the rift, preparing to emerge into normal space. High Arbiter Culmaven's voice came over the communication system from his flagship. Admiral Morrison, my sensors cannot properly detect the enemy. How do we target something that exists partially outside our dimension? That's why we're here, Jake replied. Our reality anchors will force them into normal space where your weapons can hit them. But you have to wait for our signal. If you fire too early, your shots will pass right through them. Dr. Rachel Stone was aboard Jake's ship, operating the most advanced dimensional scanner in the fleet. Her expertise with predecessor technology made her invaluable for this battle. Admiral, I'm detecting massive movement inside the rift, she reported. Something big is coming through. The first Devourer ship emerged from the dimensional tear and Jake felt his breath catch in his throat. The vessel was enormous, easily 5 times the size of any ship in their fleet. But size wasn't what made it terrifying. The ship seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, its outline shifting and changing as parts of it phased in and out of normal space. All human ships, activate reality anchors, Jake ordered. Across the fleet, dozens of human vessels powered up their predecessor-designed weapons. Beams of crystallized light shot out from the human ships, creating a web of energy that surrounded the Devourer vessel. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The enemy ship suddenly became solid and stable as the reality anchors forced it to exist fully in normal space. "Now," Jake shouted, "all alien ships, fire everything you have." The combined firepower of 12 civilizations erupted across space. Energy beams, plasma cannons, and missile systems that could destroy planets all focused on the single Devourer ship. For a moment, Jake thought they had won an easy victory. Then the smoke cleared and the enemy ship was still there, completely undamaged. "Impossible," breathed Commander Slicks from his Saurian vessel. "We hit it with enough firepower to crack a moon." Dr. Stone was studying her readings frantically. "The reality anchors are working. The ship is definitely in normal space, but it's protected by some kind of exotic matter shielding that we don't understand." More Devourer ships were emerging from the rift now. Jake counted at least 20 vessels, each one the size of a space station. Worse, smaller craft were pouring out of the rift by the hundreds. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," Captain Peterson announced. "It's coming from the lead Devourer ship." "Put it through," Jake ordered. The main screen filled with an image that defied description. The being that appeared wasn't entirely solid. Parts of it seemed to exist in other dimensions, creating a disturbing visual effect that made Jake's eyes water. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from inside his own head. "We are the Devourers of reality," it said. "Your ancestors called us this because they did not understand our true purpose. We do not destroy, we harvest. We collect the energy that maintains dimensional barriers and use it to sustain our own existence." "High Arbiter." Quillmaven's voice was filled with disgust. "You erase entire civilizations from existence for energy?" "We erase nothing," the Devourer replied. "We simply relocate matter and energy to dimensions where they can serve a higher purpose. Your 3-dimensional existence is inefficient and wasteful." Director Ashley Young, who was aboard one of the other human ships, joined the communication. "The predecessors found a way to stop you before. We can do it again." The Devourer's form shifted and Jake got the impression it was amused. "The predecessors tried to stop us with reality anchors and dimensional stabilizers. They succeeded in delaying us for 50,000 years. But we have adapted. We have learned to exist in more dimensions than your technology can anchor." To prove its point, the Devourer ship began to phase in and out of normal space despite the reality anchors focused on it. The human weapons were losing their grip on the enemy vessel. "The anchors aren't working," Dr. Stone reported with panic in her voice. "They're shifting into dimensions we can't reach." Jake felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. Everything humanity had built, all their preparations, were useless against an enemy that had learned from the last war. Then Director Young's voice came over the communication system with sudden excitement. "Admiral, I have an idea. The Devourers say they harvest dimensional energy. What if we overload them with more energy than they can handle? How do we do that?" Jake asked. "The ring world," Young replied. "It's powered by dimensional taps that draw energy from multiple realities. If we channel all that power into our reality anchors, we might be able to force the Devourers into a dimensional state they can't escape from." Dr. Stone looked up from her console with understanding. "It would be like trapping them between dimensions. They wouldn't be able to phase out of normal space because they'd be locked in a dimensional feedback loop." "How much power would that require?" Jake asked. "Everything," Young said grimly. "We'd have to shut down the entire ring world and channel all its energy into the anchors. And we'd only have one shot. If it doesn't work, we won't have enough power for a second attempt." Jake looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. He could see the fear in their eyes, but also determination. This was what humanity had been preparing for. "Do it," he ordered. Across the fleet, human ships began drawing power from the massive ring world around Jupiter. The energy transfer was so great that stars seemed to dim as dimensional barriers bent under the strain. Reality itself groaned as forces beyond normal physics were unleashed. "All ships target the lead Devourer vessel," Jake commanded. "Channel everything through the reality anchors." The combined power of a ring world designed to house billions of people flowed through the human ships and into their predecessor weapons. The reality anchors no longer just forced the Devourers into normal space. They trapped them in a dimensional prison that prevented any escape. "Now!" Jake shouted. "All ships fire!" This time, when the combined fleets opened fire, the Devourer ships had nowhere to run. Locked in normal space by forces they couldn't overcome, they were vulnerable for the first time in 50,000 years. The battle was brutal and decisive. One by one, the Devourer ships were destroyed by firepower that could shatter planets. The dimensional rift began to collapse as the entities maintaining it were eliminated. As the last enemy vessel exploded in a burst of impossible colors, Jake realized that humanity had just saved the galaxy. But more than that, they had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from advanced technology, but from the willingness to sacrifice everything for others. "All ships report enemy eliminated," Captain Peterson announced. High Arbiter Colmaven's voice came over the communication system, filled with respect Jake had never heard before. "Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I officially recognize humanity as a Level 1 civilization and request that you accept command of all Galactic Defense Forces." Jake looked out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships floating victorious, in space where reality had nearly been destroyed. "Accepted, Arbiter. But from now on, there are no levels. There are only species working together to protect the galaxy." As the fleet prepared to return to their homes, Jake reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had gone from being dismissed as primitive to leading the greatest military alliance in galactic history. They had built something the galaxy didn't understand they could build, not just a ring world, but a future where all species stood as equals against the darkness between dimensions. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, Jake thought, was exactly as it should be.